Welcome back, junkies. It's Brandon Dukeman here with Will Harvey, and we are excited to bring you another daily interview. Today, we've got our second youngest entrepreneur on here today. So we're ready to move forward with that. But first, don't forget, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/wealth junkies. And that's all I've got. So Will, let's get started.
Thanks, Brandon. Today on the show, we have Michael Tucker. Really excited to talk to him. So like Brandon alluded to, Michael is only 22 years old, and he's the owner and CEO of Tucker Investment Group and the author of New You Resolution. He dedicates his time to building his real estate business in Kentucky, helping individuals reach their goals through speaking and building online businesses. So Michael, we're really excited to talk about your story and the highs, lows, and everything in between. So can you just give the listeners a little bit more about your background and what got you to where you are today?
Oh, well, thank you guys first for having me on here. I love sharing my story, and I'm young, so I don't have all this knowledge, but I do have my story, and I love sharing my story because it does leave a mark on people whenever you share that. But I want to go back. I was talking to Will a little bit before the podcast. I want to go back to whenever I was young too. I grew up in an awesome Christian family, awesome, loving home. And my dad was an entrepreneur at heart. He still is. He owns like 10 businesses, and he just is always trying to make that quick cash. And so I grew up in that environment my whole life. And I remember growing up, me and my cousins, so I'm going to go off topic here. We grew up at a children's home because my family ran a children's home. And so because we were so entrepreneurial minded, we would do all kinds of crazy stuff to make money there at the children's home. It was kind of weird, but we would rent out bikes to kids. We would sell lemonade. We made our own petting zoo. And so my whole life I had this idea of, I want to create a business and I want to help others through business. And so growing up, just leaving that as the forefront of it all, we created all these businesses. And I started growing up and I said, hey, I would love to go to the Air Force. I don't know why. I had some family that went to the Air Force. And that was just in my mind. So I went through high school, got to graduation, and realized that just wasn't going to happen. That wasn't for me. I feel like my calling was something else. And so I feel like everybody does this, but I acquired something called shiny object syndrome. You guys may know what it is. You know, where everything.
Funny, yeah, very familiar with shiny object syndrome.
Yeah. So every opportunity just looked amazing. And so right out of high school, I said, you know what, I'm going to go to college for marketing because I love marketing myself. And I found myself in this pit of shiny object syndrome. For everybody that's listening and don't know what it is, it's where you find every money opportunity, everything that looks awesome, you go after it. And so for me, that's what I did. I tried stock trading. I tried social media marketing. I tried e-commerce. I don't even know. I even tried opening a pizza shop not too long ago in our little town here. Yeah. So I tried everything, but what I found was the more I was doing, the less successful I was. Absolutely. I wasn't pouring my energy into one area. And actually one of those things that I was trying to do was network marketing too. So I was trying to do all this stuff, coming up with all these ideas, and I was in network marketing. And I found my mentor, David Hughes. He's a real estate investor, but at the time we were in this network marketing company. And one day, David, my mentor in this network marketing company, just dropped off the map. I was like, what in the world happened to David? Like he was mentoring me. He was trying to help me get more people in my downline or whatever they call that. And all of a sudden he just vanishes. And then 6 months later, I get a call from David, and he says, hey, Michael, I'm starting to teach people real estate. I've been doing real estate part-time, very part-time for the past 20 years. Would you like to be one of my first students? And like me, I said, why not? Right. I mean,
so did you have any question in your mind? Like, where'd this dude just go? And did you lose a little bit of trust in him?
Yeah. Were you not skeptical that he just kind of vanished?
Well, he's a really authentic guy. And sometimes like his energy is contagious. He's one of those people that their energy is always like this. When you first meet him, like he'll probably listen to this and laugh, but whenever you first meet him, you think, oh, I think he's kind of fake, but that's just his energy is always like that. And so every once in a while he would do things like this, but no, I thought, well, maybe he's given up on network marketing. And I guess there was a little bit of doubt in my head, like, well, yeah, I'm here by myself now. Who can I trust? But it wasn't anything major. But, he came back to me and was like, hey, do you want to learn this real estate? And at first there's always that self-limiting beliefs in our head that are like, well, can I do it? You always hear your mom and dad saying, well, somebody got burned by this, or somebody tried flipping a house once and they failed, lost money. But I said, because I had that shiny object syndrome, I said, I'm going to try it, whatever. And so he took me under his wing, and the rest is history. We own our own real estate solutions company here in Kentucky. So we flip houses, and we have private partners that help us source those properties and things of that nature.
That's really interesting. So what did you said you had shiny object syndrome. You were trying a bunch of stuff, the pizza place and the stock trading and all that. Once you discovered real estate, did you kind of throw everything else by the wayside and focus on that exclusively?
Yeah. So I finally realized, to be honest, when I first started in real estate, I still had all this stuff that was happening, but I read one book, and I can't even remember what book it was. I have no clue, but I read a book, and it was talking about just that, pouring all your energy into one thing and giving it your all.
Was it The One Thing? Was it Gary Keller's book?
No, it wasn't, but I probably need to read that. But I can't remember what it was. I've never read that book. And then that kind of just put a spark in my mind, like, hey, everything I've been committing to for 3 months, 4 months, but I've never been seeing it through. And I said, I want to see this real estate through, whether I fail or I succeed. But if I stay in long enough, I know I'm going to succeed. So I'm going to commit my time to real estate.
So what did you start learning about? What were the first steps that you took to trudge that path?
Yeah. So my mentor, he got us in a private coaching group. So once a week we'd get on a call, and he taught us basically just the ins and out of real estate. I had no idea anything about real estate. My family's never done it.
So you were at a zero education. You were never a real estate agent or anything like that.
Exactly. Ground zero.
Wow. That's cool. And give us the progression. When did you start learning? And then when did you start, what did you start doing to generate leads, and tell us about the first deal or the first win?
Yeah. So in my story, I like honing in on the fact that listen to your mentors and do what they say, because there's a lot of us, we say we're doing what our mentors tell us to do, but a lot of times we want to do it our own way. And so whenever I started in this real estate game, I started going to all the coaching calls, but I got to this point where pride started creeping in my life. And I thought, hey, I know enough to get started. I don't need to listen to my mentor. And so
big mistake.
Yeah. And for me, and if you're in real estate, one bad deal can put you in the hole for a long time. And that's exactly what happened to me. So whenever I share my story now, my story is, hey, listen to your mentors and take the mistakes of others and apply it to your life so you don't have to make those mistakes. And for me, so just a little backstory, I started learning, started going real quick. I'm one of those people, like, I'll just jump in and do something. I don't care. I'm going to grow my wings on the way down. If you've ever heard that expression. And so got in, I started looking at a few properties, got one under contract. It was a great deal. And at the second time, my mentor told me, he's like, I probably would just do one at a time starting out if you're going to be flipping houses and stuff, because you don't need to go too quick. Well, I was like, I think I can make some money on this other deal. So I got it under contract, and I didn't do all the things he was telling me. He said, bring in a contractor to, give you bids and quotes. And I thought, well, I could just do that myself. I can go to Lowe's, find all the materials, yada, yada, yada. Long story short, my first actual flip, I ended up losing like $10,000. And a lot of people would have quit. Yeah, a lot of people would have quit at that moment. But for me, I came to the realization of, one, I decided I'm going to commit to this. Two, that was my own failure. I should have listened. And three, I'm going to keep going. So for me, anybody that's listening to this, I would just say, hey, take heed to instruction and take heed to advice when you hear it, and learn from the mistakes of others.
Yeah, that's so good.
Extremely, he's the mentor for the reason, for a reason. And, sometimes there's bad mentors, sometimes there's good mentors. That's for you to decide who you want to trust. But when you find that person you can trust, like you said, you need to learn from their failures. You need to learn from, what they're telling you, because you're still down here at the bottom, even though, things might be going well the first time. You haven't had that first failure yet to kind of teach you, the real lessons. So let them be on your side as long as possible.
Yeah, that's the whole point of a mentor, is learn from their failures instead of doing it yourself.
Right. And that's why we do this show, is so that we can bring some of the failures, that our guests have to hopefully prevent some of those in the future.
Yeah. What looking back, hindsight's 2020. What do you think? Obviously, not listening to your mentor and doing some of the stuff yourself sounds like it was a culprit. But what would you say the biggest reason is that you lost 10K on that deal?
Wasn't analyzing my numbers and wasn't analyzing the property. So if anybody's ever into real estate or any kind of investing, I should have learned how to minimize my risk and how to assess the deal. So you need to know your numbers. And for me, I just thought I knew it all and didn't assess my property, didn't look at the numbers right, and the rest was history.
So if you would have bought it better, that would have healed all the wounds.
Yes.
Basically.
So we thought we could sell it for 130,000. We were going to buy it for 100,000 and just put a couple grand into it, literally just turn around next month and list it back on the market.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be a quick flip, but like I said, I didn't know everything I thought I knew, and it ended up being on the market longer. It ended up, we had to put in like double or triple the amount of cost because of holding costs and just some unforeseen costs that I didn't know about. And so anyways, whenever we sold it, we basically just were at a loss.
Okay.
So what was your mentor's response to kind of your actions in this deal?
You know what? I think he knew I learned.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that won't learn from those mistakes. They'll just quit or they'll do it again. But for me, he's seen, I came to him straight up. I said, okay. And he actually didn't know this because I hid it for a long time. And that was bad of me, but he didn't know it until just.
So you're 10 grand into the hole and you're like,
yeah,
help.
Oh, I didn't scream help because I knew, but I told him, I said, I wish I would have listened to you.
Yeah.
And by that time I learned, we started doing other properties. And so I can get into more of that, how we scaled up from there. But yeah, I mean, his response, he knew, because when you come to a point of humility, and that's what I did, I had to say, hey, you know, I messed up and I know what I did wrong. And he applauded me for that. So don't be afraid. Don't ever be afraid to share your failures, because if you can come humble to somebody and profess that, they're going to think a lot about you.
Yeah, I totally agree. So where did you go from there?
Hold on. Before we do that, I want to, where are you getting the funding to be able to purchase these properties? You're probably 20, 21 years old at this point, maybe younger. And, you know, I can't imagine that, you know, you're sitting on a heavy stack of cash right now or
Exactly.
at the point. So,
yeah. So a lot of the first ones, we came out of pocket through credit. So literally, and that was how we lost a lot of money, was we were using credit on this all, just hoping and praying that the deal would, you know, succeed. And so that's one of the things. Was it
hard money?
Yeah, hard money loans. So
what were the terms on it?
I can't remember exactly because that was a couple years ago, but I do remember it was like 10% APR. So I mean, it's higher. There's some that are higher out there, but you know, whenever you are waiting tables, and that's what I forgot to mention at this time. My family owns a restaurant, so I'm waiting tables, and I'm transitioning out of that now. But you know, so at the time I don't have the most income. Just got married, and so $800 a month loan on top of all your other bills when you first get married isn't the most ideal situation.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's good. My 10% is not terrible. My first one was 12%. So
right.
And
and then you're kind of a race against the clock to try to get that house flipped. Otherwise you're paying 10, 12% on the loan. And you know,
exactly.
you can only do that for so long.
I encourage people, now that I learned that, people that are beginning, I don't encourage you using hard money loan or credit or anything like that unless you for sure know the deal is a great deal. That's just me though.
So then what would you suggest?
I would suggest partnering with somebody in your family. And that's what we do now. I have some private lenders in our family and in our community I just built relationships with, and they trust me. And now that I have a few deals under my belt, they trust me even more. But, you know, I would have an agent on your team and some other investors on your team evaluate that deal. And so whenever you come to these people that you know have money, you can say, hey, here's a deal. My investors looked at it and said it's a good deal. Would you be willing to partner? And that's what we do now, is we just use private money.
Okay. Did you start doing that on your second deal?
Yeah. So actually, we had a deal and we made like $30,000-$40,000. And so we started realizing, hey, why don't we just use other people's money instead of our own?
Well, that's awesome. Can you talk about that and just how you found that deal, how you put together the capital stack and everything about it?
Yeah. So I realized after we lost that money that, this could either go good or it can go bad. If I keep doing it the way it's going to happen. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to try not to use any of my own money if I don't have to, because there's people out there that would love a great return. They have just their money sitting in a savings account.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I heard about wholesaling properties. You guys probably heard about We Buy Houses, stuff like that.
Sure.
But I was getting a lot of leads just through Facebook, through Craigslist, through Facebook ads, all these different ways. And I said, okay, some of these deals are for me and some of them aren't. So the deals that we can't use, I'm going to send over to my partners in different cities and let them know that they can have these properties. And so that was another way we built up our own capital. And we're doing it right now is whenever properties come in, we assess it and say, okay, is this good for our own flips or our own rentals or not? Because if it's not, we're going to send it somewhere else and we'll get a referral fee for sending those over to somebody else. And so that was a good way to build up capital. But I realized all these deals are coming in. There's tons of great deals. I need to take advantage of this private capital that I know is around. And so I just started building relationships, having conversations with these people and just saying, hey, this is my vision. This is what I want to do. And I want you to join us if you'd like. And this is the deal. And I kind of lay out the deal and kind of like an example deal, what they can make and stuff. And people get excited. And some people are going to be skeptical. Some people are going to be, like I said, excited. But it's just finding the people that are on board and using them and leveraging their time and money.
That's really cool. And it sounds like you were just very straightforward, very authentic. You weren't painting this rosy picture and coming across like a used car salesman, trying to sell them on this idea. You're just like, hey, this is what it is. If you're interested, great. If not, then that's fine too. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and people just bought into it, and I'm sure that it's the whole. I know you're in multifamily now. We're going to talk about that, but it's the whole bet on the jockey, not the horse type of thing.
Right.
Where I'm sure it was they saw your character, they know how you operate. That's such a huge lesson. If you're authentic and do what you say, then it's not really that hard to sell people on stuff like this.
It definitely. And another thing that I use is I use my past failures. I even tell them about my past failures so they know how far I came.
Yeah.
So they know, okay, I say, hey, listen, my first deal, I'm not going to lie, I lost a lot of money, but through that I've learned and now our business has grown and now we're making a lot of money. So they see that they're like, oh, okay, so he's learned and now he doesn't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was going to be one of my questions is, being such a young individual and you're going to people for possible investments on their money. Did you come across any struggles with that, with being young and them taking you seriously and what you're looking for?
No, most time I came to the people that are closest to me first.
Okay.
And a lot of those people already trusted me. So that's my warm market. We all have people that we know have money and we know they trust us.
Right.
So why not go for those people first? And once you have that success and you start building that rapport with those people on the outside are going to be more than welcome to join with you as well.
Yeah, they're gonna see that. Oh, okay, he's buying a few houses. You start posting a little bit on social media and things like that. People see what you're doing, and then you're gonna start growing that traction, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you get the confidence and experience dealing with the quote unquote layups.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with your family, that's kind of a dry run, so to speak, for when you start going out to the market. And you might not even need to go out to the market. I mean, to scale, you probably would and probably have, but no, that's a great strategy.
And that's us right now. I mean, to be honest, our goal is to scale this year past 6 figures. So we're a very, very new company. I haven't been doing this that long, but at the end of the year, we should hit well over 6 figures. And that's not to toot our own horn because I know there's people out there in this realm doing 7, 8 figures. But I'm saying that because we are fairly new but we're growing and it is possible to grow at a steady pace. And like you were saying, Will, eventually we haven't got into multifamily yet, but that's our next turn is to go into multifamily.
But your sights are set on it. Your eyes are on it. You understand it. Yeah, exactly. Well, what are you keep saying we and our. So give us the dynamic of your team and how you've structured that.
Right now, it's just me and my wife. So every day we carve out and we just start looking at properties, calling homeowners and stuff. I have private partners, like I said, in my family. And then I also have some guys on our construction and rehab team that I outsource everything to. But whenever I say we, I refer to me and my wife.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Wow, you're married. You're 22. You're doing all this, and you're married. That's insane.
Yeah, you're
I
a
need to
little bit ahead of me.
reevaluate my
Yeah.
life.
So you want to grow your company to six figures. What are your plans to be able to grow your company to six figures this year?
Yeah. So last year we focused a lot on perfecting our flips, and I think I finally got it down to a science for us. Everybody has their own techniques and how they do flips and things of that nature. So right now it's basically finding as many flips as we can do this year. We're hoping to do at least 12 flips this year.
So
And it's
one
not
a month.
it's not that hard to do, to hit six figures when you're doing flips,
Right.
but we're wanting to do that and at least do one flip a month, or at just 12 throughout the year.
So do you find that? Do you find it to be a better, fully weighted with factoring in time, energy, all of that, and kind of the pain in the ass factor? Would you say that flipping is still more profitable than wholesaling?
Yeah. So if anybody knows anything about real estate, there's wholesaling, which is where you find a property and you can assign it to another party. So you get it under contract and you can assign that property to another investor and you can pretty much mark up the price. I think there's a lot of people that disagree, but I feel like if you get the right flip, it can make a lot of money. So now we only focus on flips that are going to make us 30,000 or above.
Okay.
And for us, that's a lot more profitable because I have the system set up now to where we can find a property, lock it up under contract, and I have the right guys in place now to go out there, rehab it. And when I first started off, this is another thing, I was doing everything myself. One, because I wanted to learn it, and I don't know anything about construction, so I want to learn myself. Two, because I thought I could save money, which I learned I can't save money by doing it by myself. It just took me longer.
Right. But usually
now
you screw something up and it ends up being more
Exactly.
expensive when you have to eventually call the
Yeah.
contractor to fix it.
So now we have a system in place. I have my guys I use whenever we get a house, I bring them in, and now we can flip a month. If it's a decent flip, we can flip it in about a month or less. So
wow. So you have it systematized, you have it very process driven now, and it's a well-oiled machine, so to speak.
Yeah. And for me, whenever I first started out, I didn't have that. And so I realized, and as I was getting mentored by other individuals, the importance of systems in your business is that what differs between scalability and not being able to scale.
Yeah, agreed. Are you utilizing VAs at all?
No, not yet. So that's what we're hoping to bring on somebody in our team to, because there's a lot of outbound calls we do. We call a lot of people, and we also go and look at a lot of properties every week. I can't give you the number, but every week we're calling and looking at evaluating properties. So eventually this year, actually have it up on my board up here, we want to bring on somebody to do all that and help with some of the work on the side.
Nice. So right now you're making all those outbound calls and taking the inbound ones as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So Michael, for someone who's sitting here listening, man, this sounds like a great idea. This sounds like something I can get into fairly quickly. It on your end doesn't sound like it's been that quick, but it has been. So can you kind of give us a time frame from when you got started to where to the point where you perfected your strategy for this? It just kind of
put it on a timeline.
Yeah, so that somebody knows this is not just an overnight thing. I can read a book and watch HGTV and good.
Yeah, so it's not been too long, but it's not been, it's been a decent amount of time. We started 2 years ago.
Okay.
So that first year was really us messing up and realizing, okay, this is what we need to do. And just over the past year, we finally got it down to where I'm like, okay, now I'm comfortable. Now I know we can scale this up to a point where we want it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, I know we were talking about this before we started recording, but tell us about your vision with what you're doing with the flips and how you want to convert that to long-term wealth.
Yeah, definitely. So if anybody knows anything about long-term wealth and building wealth, you'll probably come up and hear about multifamily investing. And for me, I have this vision of creating business that's systematized in a way that I can speak. I love speaking. I love getting up on stages and doing things like that. And actually in 2020, I set a goal to help the most people I've ever helped in my life, just because I feel like the more value you add to people, the more you're going to grow and your business is going to grow. So that's our goal. But I want to create a business that is systematized and I can do those things I love. And I actually just wrote a book we were talking about before the show, but I'll talk about that in a second. But I want not only to do all those things I love, but to leave a legacy for my kids, my wife, if something ever happens to me. And we want to do that through, multifamily investing and other sorts of investing.
Nice. So how did you start learning about that? What led you to realize that was a great wealth builder?
So everybody heard of Grant Cardone and all these different people, but as I got into real estate, I realized there's tons of ways you can invest. And for those of you guys that know that, you know that, but for those of you guys that don't know anything about real estate, just know there's tons of ways you can invest in real estate. And so as I was researching it all, I found Michael Blanc, which a lot of you all here know. I know Brandon and Will and all them know who Michael Blanc is, but actually he's a personal friend of mine. So I met with him. We both work for the same nonprofit, or not work for them, but work with the same nonprofit. And so Michael Blanc, I remember
what's the name of the nonprofit?
Uganda Counseling and Support Services.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
So I remember Michael back when I was young. He was talking about apartment complex investing. And he was talking about to all my older peers, he was talking to them, you should get into apartment buildings. You should start investing. And they were all, no, why would I want to do that? Who wants to rent out apartments? And that was their mindset. But for me, I seen this guy who was building wealth and long-term income. It may not be a lot of cash on the front end, but I seen he was building a lot of net worth.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I said, all right, Michael. And I started seeing him posting stuff on Facebook, and I was friends with him on there. So, and I got into one of his groups, and I started diving into it. And so now that's what we're really honing in on, our education and learning more about that, because I feel like, and from what I've heard and what I've researched, you guys can research it yourself, and I know a lot of you guys do. I feel like multifamily is just one of the safest and best ways to grow your wealth long-term.
Yeah, agreed. And I love the strategy that you're doing. I think it's so tried and true, where you have your business where you're flipping houses. Obviously, the tax benefits for that, you kind of get hammered on taxes, at least when you start out. But what you're doing, what your mindset is you're gonna do that and kind of churn and grow the bank account, and then that will then be able to be invested in different deals, whether it be multifamily, self-storage, or whatever. It doesn't even have, for somebody listening, it doesn't have to be real estate. You can have a business that churns out cash, and then you invest in whatever interests you, or whatever you feel is going to make you a good return on your money. So
exactly. And that's
an
our
awesome
goal.
approach.
Yeah, that's our goal. We want to build this business, whether it's through flipping. I don't see myself flipping houses long term. I don't see it.
Right.
But I would love to pour that money, whenever we do scale it, pour that money into something that's going to feed me and my family for the rest of our lives. And actually, it could be, I love building businesses, and we're working on a business right now that's fully online. And I'd love to pour some of my money in the future into future businesses to help invest that way.
Yeah, what is that? You can't just skip over that.
I can't skip. I can't talk about it.
He doesn't want to give away the ideas.
Divulge. Come on.
How about here in about a year or so, whenever we get rolled out?
Yeah, we'll have it back on.
No, that's great. That's good stuff.
So what are some of are you planning on purchasing, kind of syndicating and finding multifamily deals, or are you going to take the money that you're making from these flips and just passively invest into the deals, or have you thought of what you wanted to do yet with those?
I'm leaning more towards syndication, but I haven't got to that point to where, because
you're a hands-on kind of guy.
Yeah, and exactly. And I'm at the point right now to where I'm just like, okay, let's get this scaled up, and then I'll focus on that probably a little later. It's in the sites, but multifamily right now is one of those things I see myself here in about 2 or 3 years. Our business may transform into majority multifamily.
That's great. Well, it's so cool to see you doing this. I mean, you're not to sound like you're elder. I'm only 4 years older than you, but most people at your age are not. They're thinking about partying and drinking and all that crap, and you're clearly not.
What are the plans for the weekend?
Right.
What bar are we going to versus how many phone calls do I need to make? How many houses do I need to go analyze and things like that? So it's fun to see the different mindset of some of the individuals, and unfortunately, those individuals that are going to the bars and doing all that stuff on the weekends, in 10, 15 years, they're going to realize, oh shit, I should have been sitting there trying to analyze. Or they could be in the same spot. A lot of them will be. or they're going to realize I should have been doing this when I was younger, so that now when I'm 35, I can actually go out to the bar, I can go have drinks, I can go do whatever, and not have to worry about,
Exactly.
all that stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I think this is Warren Buffett. He says the best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. The second best time is today. So it sounds like you're.
It's funny. I was having that conversation.
Exactly
I was having that conversation with yesterday with somebody. So anybody, I just wanted the book I just wrote is called New You Resolution. And like I said, I have a passion of speaking and helping other people. And I wanted to create a guide to help people actually set their goals and achieve them. Because, every year, millions of people set their goals and never achieve them.
Right.
They just try to do it. They don't have a plan. So my goal through this book was to help people set a plan that actually helps them achieve those goals. And I was actually talking to somebody yesterday, and they were like, man, now that I have a kid, I would love to be able to do what you're doing. I wish I would have chased my dreams a long time ago. And I told her, I said, you can do that now. You can start now. But I bring that conversation up because she said, I wish I would have done it a long time ago. So if you're our age and you're thinking about doing something, this is the best time of your life to do it.
Do it now. Do it right now.
That's a mic drop right there.
Yeah, it is. And I go to these multifamily conferences and a lot of things like that. And a lot of them I'm the youngest guy in the room, and people find out I'm 24 years old, and they're like, damn, the things I would do to be 24 again. And I'm just like, I realize that I'm starting at a great time, but I also don't really realize it because, we're still trying to build up and still trying to do things. But, I'm glad I'm glad I got started when I did and not later.
Right.
But I wish I would have got started earlier. I was telling someone the other day as well. I was like, if I was 16 and I knew about this, I'd probably start at 16. I'd start reading books, start doing all this. So, the earlier you can get started, like you said, the better.
But even if you're starting later, look at Colonel Sanders. Look at Harlan Sanders. He started when he was in his 60s, I think. Yep. He started KFC in his 60s, and we all know
there's no wrong time to start. You're just going to wish you got started earlier,
right?
Once you realize the benefits of it.
The point is, get started now, right?
Yes.
If you haven't.
That's it.
So talk to us. I've never written a book. I've just written some papers for college, and I've kind of BS those. But talk to us the process of writing a book.
So it's actually not as hard as people make it out to be. It depends if you want to go to self-publishing route or if you want to get a publisher. For me, I chose to just do it all myself, and I'm a pretty tech savvy guy. So I just found out I would do it myself. And so going back to my high school, whenever I was into all this stuff, selling stuff with my cousin, I was always like, I just want to write a book to help people. I seen myself, and I knew God had that on my heart. And so I started writing a book back then. Don't really know the ins and outs of it. I can't even remember, but I wasn't doing it with the right heart, and I never published that book. And I knew one day I'm going to write a book. And actually it was funny because on my board last year, at the beginning, I can't remember. I had it on my board, write a book. That was just one of my goals I had for 2020. And I ended up doing it last year. But the process isn't that hard. It's just knowing how to do it. And actually, there's a great book by Chandler Bolt. I don't know if you guys know Chandler at all. He's a great, I don't know him personally, but I have read his book, and he's a young guy. He's our age, 23, 24, owns a multi-million-dollar publishing company where they help self-publishers get their book on Amazon. And his book is called Published. That's all it is. I think Published.
How do you spell his last name? Do you know?
Chandler Bolt, B-O-L-T. Yeah, B-O-L-T. Great guy. And he teaches people how to get their book self-published. And so I walked through his system, and within 60 or 90 days, I had a book that was on Amazon. And it was, so.
That's great. Well, congrats to you. So many people have that in their head to write a book or do something, and they never end up doing it. There's always a reason why they can't get started right now. So I think that's cool that you said you wanted to write a book, and then you set out and did it. So
yeah, I'm one of those people, and that's how I've always been. Why wait until later when you can do it? And okay, I'm very unorganized. I should take it back. I'm a very unorganized person. My wife gets mad at me, and I'll say I'll do that later. But whenever it comes to chasing after your dreams, that's my heart's passion.
I love
Go
it.
do what you've always wanted to do. And right now, actually, we're training. I got a group of people together, people that have never ran a marathon before, and we're training for a marathon in May. I've done several big stuff, and I don't even have a lot of details. My wife and I started a nonprofit about 5 or 6 years ago, but we don't have time to
What
get
the hell? When you were like 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 15 years old.
What the?
So we
That's
started.
insane.
I can't even stand somebody for like a day, and let alone be with somebody for 5 years at 22. That's yeah.
Well, no, and he started a nonprofit
Yeah,
at
I
age
know.
15.
Yeah.
So we started this, but we've done a lot of things. We've done century rides for causes, marathons and stuff. But I found out there's a lot of people that they want to do these things, but they don't have somebody there to push them. So we're actually, that's the reason I wrote the book, but we're actually doing a big run. And we have like 20 people that are going to do a marathon for the first time. And so, but yeah,
That's
if you're ever
very cool.
thinking, if you're ever thinking about doing anything, just jump in and find other people to do it with you, because the more accountability, the higher you can go in life.
Yep.
Yeah, that's huge. That accountability is, that's really what gets you through things. Because if you tell a bunch of people you're going to do it and you don't do it, it makes you look like crap.
Yeah, exactly.
But so that's why if you like you said, tell people about it or get people to join you, so that way someone's sitting there, well, you said you were going to do this, and
Right.
makes you do it. So
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, we know what are your other plans for the future? Obviously, we know you got a goal this year for 6 figures and get into multifamily. You got any other goals for your future?
Yeah, so on my speaking career, we're hoping to start the speaking side of my business, and really just about leadership and motivation. And so I'm in the process of getting certified through John Maxwell certification. Nice. So that's another goal this year. I'm halfway through that. But yeah, man, just living life full time. That's just my goal, is to live life the way I want it, and the way I have this friend, and I've always been so jealous of him. You look at his life and it looks like he's gone everywhere, done everything. He's gone, I think it was Iceland. He went on a date in Iceland. He's shot hogs in Texas. I looked at his life and I was like, that's living right there. Not that you have to travel everywhere, but doing what you love. And so I committed this year to living a life that I love and doing the things I want to do.
I love that.
It's perfect. It's just being able to have the freedom to be able to do that too.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's great. Well, Michael, we're going to jump into our Moments of Truth segment here. It's the same 7 questions that we ask all of our guests, and I'm excited to hear what you've got to say. So the first question here is, who is your success role model?
First, God, every day I thank him for just the opportunity to do what I do. But that's on a more spiritual sense. But whenever it comes to in life, business, role model, there's several people out there. I mean, it's in the real estate realm, there's tons of people you can model after. And so it's very hard to narrow that down to one person. But, whenever it comes to it, there's several. Grant Cardone, I love reading their stuff. Robert Kiyosaki, love his books. They're some of my favorite books ever. So I'd say Robert Kiyosaki is one of my favorite whenever it comes to real estate success.
That's great. Yeah, he's definitely a good one. What is your biggest success?
Man, that's it. I was reading all these questions whenever you guys sent them over, and these are hard, man. I would say
have a business one and a personal one. Does that make it easier?
Yeah, a business one would probably be, I don't know if you'd call it writing a book. For me, that's just always been on my bucket list, something I've always wanted to do.
That's a huge success.
So for me, that's just something I'm very excited about.
And brag a little bit about it. I know the first week you said you were on Amazon's top 3.
Yeah, so we were on Amazon's best-selling free books, but we were top 3 in motivational books. So
that's awesome.
Wow. So it was awesome. I had a good crew behind me helping me get to that point. But
that's great.
But yeah, that's just one of the biggest successes I'm proud of, and there's several other that I'm proud of also, but I probably can't think of them. So
love it.
Yeah. So what's a typical day for you look like?
Wake up. I like exercising at night, so I'll wake up, eat breakfast, read a little bit. Start looking at properties, call some homeowners, meetings knocked out. Every day is totally different, because one day I may be doing a little bit of work on a house if I need to. Some days I may go look at properties, talk to private partners. But yeah, usually it starts with reading, and then in between the days, just looking at properties, making offers on properties, and things of that nature. And at the end of the day, end it with exercising, reading, and spending time with my wife.
Nice.
Great. It's a good day.
Yep. What's your favorite quote?
So I wrote this one down because there's tons of quotes out there, but this one has always stuck out to me. It's this: success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. And so that's by Winston Churchill. And I love that, because whenever I failed, and you heard in my story, that one big failure, it was my enthusiasm and my mindset that kept me going through it all.
Did you have any doubt, or were you just like, "Yep, it is what it is, and I learned a lot. Let's move on"?
I would say there was a little doubt, but I knew, like I said, it was my mistake. And I knew that it was the mindset that set everybody apart. And I was committed to the process. And in my book, I talk about that, committing to the process so you won't give up later. And that's just what I did.
That's great.
Yeah, it's tough to bounce back from some of those failures, quote unquote failures, but you got to do it to become successful. You can't let those things keep you down.
Yeah,
Definitely.
What are some of your hobbies?
I like business is a hobby to me. I really enjoy building
Agreed.
businesses. Like everybody on here, everybody probably listening, they love building businesses. But yeah, so speaking, I love to speak in my off time, even for free at some places. Traveling is a big one for me and my wife. Whenever we can, we go to the beach, go to the mountains, love skiing. So really just love being active and exercising and everything like that.
Good stuff. What's the best business book that you've read?
I would say from a business mindset and a point of view would probably be Rich Dad's Guide to Investing.
Okay.
It really breaks down investing in a different way and the mindset behind investing, like people don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So last question here. If there's one key piece of advice you could leave our listeners with about achieving success, what do you think it would be?
It'd be having the right mindset and creating that mindset from the start. Because like I said, that mindset is what got me to where I am today, and I'm still growing. But if I wouldn't have had that mindset, and actually was just talking to my cousin about this last night, he's wanting to get into real estate and stuff. And I said, create that mindset and always grow yourself. Always commit to a life of growing, because for me, I look back and realize the months and years of seminars I went to, because all throughout growing up, I went to conferences, read books, all this stuff. And I realized all that accumulated up to this point where I didn't quit. It helped me push past that failure. So if you're in here today, one piece of advice would just be focus on your mindset and everything else will fall in place.
Yeah, I agree. I see so many people, and they're like, I'll see them on Facebook, and they might make a status and say, I have a little bit of money. What should I invest in? And for somebody brand new like that, yeah, they're getting all kinds of answers. They're getting, oh, go to E-Trade. Oh, go to this, go do Bitcoin, whatever. And I'm thinking, invest in yourself, buy Rich
Exactly.
Dad Poor Dad. It's $7. And that book has changed so many lives,
Yeah,
so.
people underestimate the power of self-development.
Right.
And I can tell you, and many other people will tell you, the power of investing in yourself is 10 times, probably 100 times fold what you put into yourself.
Oh, it's the highest ROI that you can definitely
Exactly.
get out there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, totally. So Michael, how can our listeners get in contact with you? Again, the name of your book, where we can find it.
Yeah, so the book is on Amazon right now. It's New You Resolution. So New You instead of New Year. New You Resolution. You can find that on there. You can also go to my website at www.themichaeltucker.com. And I'm also on Instagram at official Michael Tucker. So I know that's a lot there, but themichaeltucker.com and official Michael Tucker on Instagram.
Great.
Awesome, Michael. Well, everybody go get Michael's book. Follow him on Instagram, visit his website, do everything you got to do and everything he told you. And Michael, we appreciate you being on the show today. This is like I said, it's great bringing on the young guys because, start young. That's what our goal is to get younger people, started and make people realize, hey, today's the day to make the difference. So
Right.
We appreciate you being on the show today.
Appreciate you guys.
Provide a lot of value. So thanks again, and we'll see everybody tomorrow.